Moshe. Rabbi Joshua says we learn from Moses. Rabbi Eliezer says we don't learn from Moses. Shiny Moshe Rav Guvrei, because Moses is different because he's so powerful. Omrim, the same like the Brazil, it's not like this one, that one, but rather a person can ask for his own personal request during the prayer that ends off that God hears prayer. Shemei Tefillah, Shema Koleinu. Amar Rav Yehuda Brei Rav Shmuel. The name of Adam Tzarchim Shemei Tefillah. Despite the fact that they said that a person could ask for his needs in Shemei Tefillah, if that particular bracha has something similar to it, like in Rafa'enu, to add a request for Shleima, Rechalenu or Bachenu, to add the tefillah for Parnasa, you can. Rashi says, even though it says a person should ask for his needs in Shemei Tefillah, if a person has a sick person, he should recite Yeratzon in Refainu, the blessing for the sick. If he needs livelihood, he should request it in the blessing for the year, which is Barchalenu or Barchenu. He said, the rabbi said you could ask your needs in Shemei. And if he does it after davening, maybe before he takes the 3 steps back, he could even say the whole Yom Kippur liturgy if he wants. What's Nisan? The Mishnah says, these are the feast days of the pagans: Kalenda, Starnura, Kartasim, Kalenda, Saturnalia, and Kartasim, Gnusia. That is day, death day, the Rebbe Meir's opinion. Sages say, call me sheyesh b'sreifa, any death that has burning, yesh b'avodah zarah, has idolatry. That does not have burning, ein b'avodah zarah, does not have idolatry. The shaving of his head, his haircut, or his beard, shaving his beard, or he gets a haircut with a special lock of hair. Or they got up from the sea, or the day that a person got out of jail, a Gentile who makes a wedding for his child, and also only that day and that person is prohibited. Amar Rav Chanan Barav, Chanan Rav said Kalenda. It's 8 days after the winter solstice. Starnura, Saturnalia, Shmari Yom Lefnei Tekufa. It's 8 days before the winter solstice. Shmana Chachav Kedem Tzartani. And the sign for that is what we said. The verse says before and after Yiforim the Tanur Rabbanan, the rabbis taught Lafisha Rad Amarishan Yom Shemis Mayed Shema B'Shvil Svachti Oilam Chashuch Badi Chayzel. This is the death that was decreed upon me from heaven. Amad v'yoshav shmoni yomim asainas b'sfila. So, as he saw the days were getting short, he established 8 days of prayer and of fasting and prayer. But once the solstice came, winter solstice came, and he saw the days starting getting longer, he said, well, that's just the way the world is. Halach v'asar shmani yamim tovim. And so then he had 8 days of feasting. Ukvam l'shem shemayim. Adam, the first man, established these days for the sake of heaven. Em kvam l'shem Avodah Zarah. But the pagans established them. It took this and it made it for idolatry, and that's where all the winter holidays come from. Now this makes sense according to the opinion that the world was created on Rosh Hashanah, because he saw the short days and didn't see the long days. But there's another opinion that the world was created in the springtime, so he saw short days and long days. But he didn't see days that were so short. Tanur Rabban, and the rabbis taught Yom Shniver Bo Adam Rishon. The day when Adam was created came Shakal of Chama. Once the sun set, Amar Oy Lisha B'Shvil Shachti Olam Chashach Badi. He said, "Woe is me, Oy, to me, that because I spoiled through sin, the world is coming dark for me. And the world's going to go back to nothingness and void. This is the death that was my punishment from heaven." He fasted and cried all night. And Eve, she also cried next to him. Once the sun rose, he realized that's just the way the world is. So then he offered a sacrifice of an ox whose horns came before his hooves. As it says, it's better to the Lord than an ox of a bull that has horns and cloven hoofs. So Yehuda said, "Name of Shmuel that the ox that Adam offered sacrifice was a unicorn. He had one horn in his forehead. Because it says better than an ox, a bull with a horn with the cloven hoofs. Makron tartre mashma, but makron means two. So Macron, if it's written Macron, it sounds like Macron. Amrav Masna. Rav Masna says Rebbe calendar. When in Rome they made the calendar feast, and all the cities that are around it are subjugated to her. Those subjugated suburbs, are they prohibited or permitted? Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Amar Kalenda Asur L'Kolhi. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said that Kalenda is prohibited to everybody. Rabbi Yochanan said that's only if the people who worship those particular idols. Tana Kavaseda Rabbi Yochanan. It's taught similar to Rabbi Yochanan. Afal Pishamru Rabbi Yosef Kalenda. Even though they say Rome made Kalenda, this holiday and all of the suburbs around it are subjugated to her. In Rome itself, only the people who worship that particular idol is prohibited. Starnalaya, Cretasim, Saturnale, and Cretasim, Yom Genusa, Shamlachem, the Genusia day of their kings, Shumlach by Melech, and the day when they coronate the king, fun of Asr, the days before are prohibited, Lachraf Mutter. But afterwards it's permitted. And the Gentile who makes a wedding for his son, and it's only prohibited that day and that man. Rashi said, we also teach like that the day when they shave his beard, they cut his special hairlock for him, the day that he came back from the sea, the day he got out of jail, it's only prohibited that day and that man. We understand that day, meaning not before, not after. Why we say only that man? So we say that those who are subjugated to him, his family, his slaves, whoever, his servants. So we see from that only that man is prohibited to have benefit. Tanya, we learned in the Brayso, Rabbi Shmuel says, Yisrael of the Avodah Zarah Jews outside the Holy Land are as if they're worshiping idols in a pure form. Kated houses, goishas mishal of even kol yudim shavirei. A Gentile makes a wedding and he invites all the Jews in the town. Even though they're eating their own food, they're eating all kosher food, drinking kosher drinks. And they have a mashgiach, they have a Jewish waiter. Everything's kosher. Scripture still considers them as though they ate from idolatrous offerings. As it says in the scripture, and they will call unto you and you will eat from his sacrifice. What is this? Adachel, it's only when you eat. Rabbi said, so if that's the case, and the scripture says you eat from his sacrifice, what does it mean he calls to you? It's kriya. Once you're invited to the wedding, you're already considered as if you're worshiping idols. Hilkach, therefore, it's called Tlois and Yomen. Bein Amar Le, and we're on Amud Beis. All 30 days, Bein Amar Le Machmasulu, Bein Lo Amar Le Machmasulu Aser. Whether they say that this is for the wedding or not, it's prohibited the whole month. After that, after that, if he says it's for the wedding, it's prohibited. If it's not for the wedding, it's permitted. And he's going to say it's for the wedding. Until one of Papa said that tracer yarchi shata until the whole 12 months of the year. The Kurm is aser, and in the beginning, why is it prohibited? Amar of Papa mishmid Rabba. Papa said the name of Rabba. Miki Ramush. Sorry, but sinte, because they something about the hair, or is it about the or about the barley? Oh, they put the barley in the mortar to try. They're starting to brew the beer for the wedding. But after 12 months of the year, is it permitted? Varav Yitzchak, brother Rav Misharshia, Yitzchak, the son of Rav Misharshia, went to a house of a certain Gentile after 12 months of the year, and he heard that he was giving thanks to his idol for his child's wedding. So then he went away, he didn't eat, even if it was kosher food. Shiny Rav Yitzchak, brother Rav Misharshia, the Adam Chashavu. Yitzchak, brother Rav Misharshia is different because he was an important person. Kretesim. Kretesim is another holiday. My Kretesim, what's Kretesim? Or if Yehuda and Shmuel. Yehuda said the name of Shmuel, Yom Shetasva Rami Malchus. It's like the Independence Day of Rome. Sanya, Rabbi said Kretesim, Yom Shetasva Rami Malchus. Kretesim and the day and the Roman Independence Day. Amar of Yosef, Shteit Feces Tafsa Rami. So Yosef said there were 2 times that Rome took its power. Cleopatra Malcha, one was during the time of Queen Cleopatra, and one during the time of the Greeks. Because when the Rav Dimi came from the Holy Land to Babylonia, he said, the 32 wars that the Romans made against the Greeks, and they couldn't defeat them. Until they had Jews helping them. Why they come help them? It's a condition. They said if the kings come from us, and the governors will come from you. If the kings come from you, the governors come from us. So the Romans sent a message to the Greeks. We were making war with you until now. Now let's go to court for judgment. Difference between a pearl and a gem. Which one should be the base for the other? They said that the pearl should be the base for the stone, for the precious stone. Evan Tova Enoch, Ezemehen Yasabasas Lechavero. So if you have a precious stone in an onyx, which is the base for the other, Evan Tova Enoch, the stone for the onyx. Enoch for Sefer Torah. What about an onyx in the Torah scroll? It's when Yasabasas Lechavero. Which one should be the base for the other? The onyx should be the basis for the Torah scroll. Shlach lahu, they sent him Canaan and Sefer Torah Gaban v'Yisrael Badan. If that's the case, we have the Torah scroll with us because the Jews are with us. We conquered them for 26 years. And they came together with faithful friendship with the Jews. But then they were friends of the Jews, and then afterwards they started to subjugate the Jews. Mikar my Darsh, so in the beginning, was safe my Darsh. What did they expound for the beginning of the end? First, they expounded when Esau said to Jacob, "Let's travel together, and I'll go with you next to you." In the end, they said, "No, please." Jacob said to Esau, "Please, my lord, pass in front of his servant." As in the why were there these 26 years that there was peace and friendship between the Romans and the Jews? The Amar of Kahana said, when Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yossi got sick, they sent a message to him, Rebbe, tell us 2 or 3 things that you said to us in the name of your father. So he said to him, 180 years before the temple was destroyed, the wicked kingdom conquered the Israelites. So 80 years before the temple was destroyed, they made a decree that the lands of the Gentiles is impure, and decrees concerning glassware. And 40 years before the temple was destroyed, the Sanhedrin was exiled, and it sat in this storehouse. So what's the law that we learned from this? It means that they didn't make any judgments of imposing any kind of punishments on anyone. In that case, we should remember this man for good. Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba Shmai. His name was Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. Shamali hu nishtach b'nei knesses Israel. If not for him, the laws of punishment would have been lost for the Israelites. Why is that? They could learn it even if they're not practicing it. But rather means that they canceled all the laws of punishment from the Israelites, from the Jews. Because the wicked Roman government decreed apostasy upon the Jews. Any Jew who becomes ordained as a rabbi will be killed. Anyone who ordains a rabbi will be killed. And the city where they ordain rabbis will be destroyed. And all of the suburbs of that city would be uprooted. What does Rabbi Yehuda do? He went and sat between 2 big mountains, and between 2 big cities, and between 2 borders of how far you could travel on the Sabbath. Between Usha and Shafaram, and he ordained there 5 elders: Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Lazar ben Shmuel. There were Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Lazar ben Shmuel. Rav Avia, Mosef Af Rabbi Nechemia. And Rav Avia said he also ordained Rabbi Nechemia. Once the enemies recognized what happened, he said to them, "B'nai Ratzu, my sons, run away." Amalei Rebbe, Vatomat Elecha. They said to Rebbe, "What's going to be with you?" Amalahem Hareini Mutlef Name Kevin Shein Lachayfchen. Says, I'm like before them, like a stone that they can't be turned over. That no one is too heavy to turn over. No one can turn it over. He didn't leave them until they pierced his body with 300 iron spears. And he made his body like a sieve, pouring out blood. We're not talking about punishments. It just means that 40 years before the temple was destroyed, they didn't give the death penalty. My timer, what was the reason? It came into the
hero who sneezed, abruptly ceased retreat and reversed into his
All right, I don't know who that was. So my time was the reason Kevin the Chazan and Fisher who wrote Maiden, since they saw there were so many murderers and they couldn't punish them. Amari Murtav Nigel Malcolm. It's better they should be exiled from one place to another. In order they shouldn't be required to give the death penalty. The Chesiv, this is written, Vasisal Piadavar Shiyagidul Minamakum. This is you should do according to the word that they teach you from that place. That it's only in that place that you have to give the death penalty. It was only 180 years, not more. So Rabbi Rebbe said Malchus Parsman that the Persian kingdom was before the destruction of the temple 304 years. Malchus and the Greeks were 180 years. Malchus Chashmaim and the Hasmoneans were 103 years. Malchus Beis Hordus Me'ah and Herod was 103 years. And you can count from there how many years after the destruction of the temple. Thank you for watching. God bless.